Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm keeping it local today. Did my laundry this morning. Of course, tomorrow's room day. Happy Saturday, everybody. Everything is set up real nicely for myself to be able to get out of that room tomorrow and get straight to the motel and do everything that the routine would have for it. Today I have the option to go to Hollywood. I honestly could right now. And I think for me, I would probably rather spend it local. Spend some time doing it local and then going back home and maybe focusing on finishing up the art for the last playlist that I have to do art for. Did one last night. The music was great. The art on the playlist, I didn't love the CD art that I did at all. I had a nice concept and then did too much with it. It was one of them type of situations. I rarely walk away from a piece and return to it. And I decided to do that last night. I did a certain thing with the CD and then put it down for like 20 minutes, worked on other pieces, came back to it and made it worse. That's what I think I did, but ultimately it's done. So that was the K list. What was it, 437? And so I still have 438 to do art for. And I'd like to get that done in this room, because who knows what the next room is going to look like. I know I don't have time to do it at the motel tomorrow because it's a million things to do on a Sunday for me, including checking into that place and doing all of that. But I got the Laker video to do in the morning before I leave. And then when I get there, the game starts at 5, Bible studies at 4:30, so there ain't going to be any art done in between that. So if I'm going to do it, it would either be today or when I get back here. And who knows what type of room I'm going to have and what type of art space I'm going to have. So I might as well take advantage of it while I know that I'm going to have a good space to do it in. So, yeah, that's really what's up with me with that. Tired, man. See, I don't know why I'm so fatigued. I guess my body's just reacting to a nice week that I've had. Put a little extra into my exercise, put a little extra into my just the interest I had in doing the things that I need to do. So, you know, sometimes you just want to rest, but I feel like I got plenty of that, so I don't feel like I really need that. I don't know exactly what I need, but maybe some type of energy or something, I don't know. But you know, that's what I get outside here for, and kind of take this walk, grab myself some bananas, some grapes, just basically some fruit, a couple of pomegranates. That's really all I need. That's why I didn't go all the way to Hollywood as well, because what I got to purchase, it's just a few things. All of my big grocery shopping I'll do when I get back. Ain't no sense in having so much to lug over to the motel and then lug back. You don't even know if you're gonna have a fridge. So, you know, that's why it's like, all right, some of the stuff that I need to purchase, I ain't stocking up like I normally would, not on a day like this, with the transition tomorrow being as it is. So, yeah, man, it's a nice Saturday. The weather's great. Can't complain at all. We're looking at like probably 75 degrees, maybe 74 degrees. It feels about as perfect as you would ask for it to be. And yeah, man, I feel all right. I just know I got a lot to do. I've already done all the highlight watching of the next opponent for the Lakers tomorrow. Did that yesterday, so that's out of the way. Then the good thing is it's only 3 games to cover since we just played this team. So the video tomorrow should be shorter, and I'm not going to have as much time to do it, so that kind of lines up perfectly. Most of these videos run about 45 minutes if I'm doing everything I normally do. With it only being 3 teams to cover instead of 5, maybe I can condense it down to like a half hour, so it should be easier to manage. All of those different things are already in mind. So yeah, man, I've been pretty good. I honestly been I started my morning off watching Dr. Mark Lamont Hill, I finally said the man's name right, his sit down with Brian McKnight's son and his ex-wife. And that set a tone for my day, man. That's a real sad situation there. And, you know, I listened to them. I watched the whole thing while I was setting up my exercise this morning and during breakfast. And I just, it really, like, not too many things weigh on me like that. I'm not the most I'm not an empath in that way. or I just be sad about stuff that I may see on TV. That's not how I get down. But some things weigh heavier than others for me for some reason, and this pretty much weighed heavy throughout the course of my morning. I'm like, yo, I don't particularly feel bad, but my mood is definitely not joyous, and it's because I've been watching this. I know it. And I tried watching the interview that Brian McKnight Sr. had after watching theirs. I only got through about 30 minutes of that, and they hadn't really gotten into the meat and potatoes of what was being spoken of in the other interview. They were still just kind of talking about other things, so I didn't get through that as much as to hear his side of the story. But I always want to give people opportunities to have their side of the story heard as well. And a lot, who knows who's telling the truth? I don't know anybody, right? What I can say is that Brian McKnight, some of his behavior, the senior, seemed pretty damn evil, if I'm being completely honest with you. Without listening to anybody's side of the story, some of the stuff that he's been doing and some of the stuff he's been saying about his sons, and it's just evil, man. I don't know what else to say. It's evil. And you can see how it weighed on his son, and you can see how it weighed on his ex-wife, and of course, condolences to their family. They lost a son, the younger brother. They lost him to cancer a couple years ago. And that just weighed heavy, man. Listening to them talk about how that's gone and how Brian, his way of treating his son, the way from their perspective, when he was passing away, it just took me down a dark path because, I lost people to cancer. I lost mom and grandmother and auntie and all them. They all passed to cancer. So I've been through some things. I know kind of how that goes, and everybody's different, man. Not everybody grieves. Some people grieve differently. Some people don't grieve at all. Some people don't care about anything but themselves. And some people put on a mask to make it to protect themselves from them type of feelings. You know what I mean? Some people they just grow cold as a defense to protect from deep pain. And I don't know Brian's psychology. I really couldn't tell you. But he just come off as somebody who probably needs a lot of therapy, man, who's done a lot of damage that, he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. And that's really what it comes down to. Sometimes in the spirit of trying to protect ourselves, we end up hurting other people, and all of that becomes something that's just ultimately regrettable to you. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's doing that in this era of his life. And just like he became this person, so too can he change out of being this person when healing comes around or when things shift. But the damage you do when you didn't care remains. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. And so I can relate to that based on having gone through certain things and with other people and seeing how they behave, seeing how I've behaved. Sometimes you can see your situation and other people's situations. And in this, I kind of saw some of my own stuff. So, I don't know, man. It was heavy. It was real heavy. And, prayers for them, man. Prayers for their family. And look, you got to understand, if you're a public figure and you can really care about your figure, your image, you got to know that being callous toward your own family is not going to improve your own image at all. Being somebody that your own family have bad things to say about is not going to make people like you in the public eye. And some of the stuff that Brian's doing, I can legitimately say he's not going to be loved by as many people anymore until he make it right somehow. He's going to have to make that right. If he cares as much about his image, he will value making it right, I guess. I don't know, but I grew up liking some of his music. I wasn't the biggest Brian McKnight fan, but I can say that he has one of my very favorite songs. Do I Ever Cross Your Mind? That's one of my very favorite songs. But some of his other music, it didn't really resonate with me that much, honestly. Some of the bigger songs that other people liked a lot, I didn't care too much for. But it's just the point, it's not about that. It's about seeing a person that, you grew up appreciating their music and appreciating their image, do some of the things that he's doing. It's just like, man, I don't. And you hate to see people become what he's become. essentially is what I'm saying to you. You hate to see it. You know, it's awful. It's an awful thought, but it's a real one. Sometimes, and I don't even like saying these words, but it does speak to just the reality of what happens when some legends just continue to live. Some legends, you never saw them spiral out of control or fall off or become, you know, shells of themselves or whatever, become worse human beings because they didn't live long enough to do so. Some, they just keep going and they become stuff that you just can't unsee, you know what I mean? And that's unfortunately the case with Brian McKnight in regards to how he handled his family. For his legacy, he probably been better off dying back in the 90s, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, that's just my take on it, man. He's an extremely talented dude. Like I said, one of my very favorite songs in all of the world came from his mind. But that don't change the fact that he's a bad guy. I mean, if it's without hearing his side of the story, just based on the stuff that he's been doing to his family and how he sounded in the 30 minutes that I listened to him, he just sounds like his head is in a very evil place when it comes to his own family, his own kids. And how he wants to approach them is exactly the image that he's get. That's what it is. That's what he's giving off, is wicked, evil, vindictive, and mentally ill, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I really hope he gets some help for what he has going on. I really do. I hope he gets some help. That's what it really comes down to. People just need to get some help for their emotional and psychological struggles. You know what I mean? The world can make you as bad as you allow it to be. And if you do a dance with the devil, he's gonna darken your ability to see straight, and you're gonna adapt to the principles that he places in your midst. If you don't guard against this, you know, this is something that I was thinking about too, as I was watching that interview. A lot of people, and I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't really thinking about Brian in this regard. But a lot of people, they adapt to godly ideologies and principles, humanitarian principles. They believe in fighting for the good fight, just like I do. And they believe in, treating your neighbor kindly and approaching things the right way, whatever that looks like, right? They have good morals. But they when it comes to the relationship with God, whose those morals belong to, who these wills align with, they don't have good thoughts about a submitting to God. They have good principles, but the God who aligns with those principles they reject. And this is something I saw in a meme as well. There's a lady who I often follow online. I forget her name, Sarah Green or something like that. I forget her name. But she's someone who puts a lot of what you would consider woke stuff on Facebook. She talks about what's going on in Gaza. She talks about what's going on in American politics. She tends to be knowledgeable and she tends to share that knowledge. But one of the things she said is, if you going down this rabbit hole doesn't lead to God, then you're missing the point. If all of this that you follow and you seeing all that you're revealing and you seeing how the evil side essentially is religiously driven, and what you find doesn't lead you to believing that God exists or that there's some value in this fight, the spiritual warfare, then you've missed it. You missed the entire mark. And that's kind of along the lines of what it is I'm saying to y'all. A lot of us, we believe in being good people. But the essence of why you're a good person and why you treat people well is because there's a God in the sky who's the centerpiece of all goodness and all unselfishness. And it's his will that we be unselfish. It's his will that we treat one another fairly. You're aligning with his principles, but you reject his essence. And that is manipulatable. I'm not saying you need to find a religion. I'm just saying, if you're going to do all the things that God wants you to do, but you don't have any interest in God himself, then you still find yourself in all of your goodness and all in your righteousness vulnerable to being maneuvered by the enemy in the spaces from which righteousness exists. And that's something that's very difficult to express to people, because there are a lot of people who this aligns with, who do share ideologies of goodness and treating people right and things of that nature. But it's kind of in the same vein as doing the absolute opposite. People who run around who say they love God, but then align with the devil's principles and the devil's cultures and the devil's interests and how he treats people. It's not the same, but it's just as distant from alignment is essentially as the other behavior. You want to do all the right things, but you reject the God for whom the right things are done for. And as a result, in this spiritual war, you end up being a pawn for the enemy in a lot of cases. It's just the essence of the warfare itself. It's the essence of what happens when you don't believe in God. The enemy then takes that lack of belief and positions you properly to be a weapon for him. This is what it is. Now, a lot of people say that I reject that. That's fine. But this brings me to the space that I often share with you guys, where I say I was a person who had a strong belief in God, but was doing things the wrong way. And because of it, I couldn't hear what God was trying to get me to understand. I didn't choose to align with what it is that was for the betterment of me, just by default, because I wasn't doing what God wanted me to do. I could believe in God all day long, but the relationship's not going to be him blessing me for doing the wrong thing. It's going to be about him trying to point me in the direction that he wants me to go. And so that means punishment for the wrongdoings, hard times for the bad choices, long-term punishments maybe for evil acts. Yeah, I believe in God, I love God, I worship God, but if I'm not doing what he tells me to do, then I'm just pointed in the wrong direction, for which he has to then turn toward where he wants you to go. And if you reject him, then you're not allowing him to turn you where he wants you to go, but you are allowing the enemy, just by default, to have control over you and turn you wherever he wants you to go. So what you end up falling victim to is a lot of different things that you would otherwise avoid if you were pointed in the right direction. And that's a difficult concept for a lot of people to receive, because there are, even myself on this camera, you'll hear me contradict this, because I didn't really have this thought in my head. It's a very new concept that I have to now share with you guys. Like, if you could be doing things the right way, but if you reject the one who wants you to do things the right way, you could be doing things the right way and still receive the wrong consequences. You can have all the best things in mind, and then what the devil will do is control the things that he controls around you to make you bitter, because you're not seeing the happiness that you ultimately want to receive. The Lord is not able to whisper into your inner ear that, hey, stay focused, because this is a distraction. Stay aligned, because this is not going to last. Here's the strength that you're going to need to get through this difficulty. Here are the tools you're going to need so that you can function in this space of fog. Don't become dejected. Don't become a victim to the psychological struggles of this current trial. Be ready for the next trial, because another wave is coming. Stay close to me. And this is what you need to do to stay close to me. You know, I stood under this tree about 2 months ago and told you guys that the Lord wanted me to do a 30-day challenge, and we talked about that. Those are the type of energies and notions that came to me because I had a relationship with God. It was because I was doing things the right way. I was able to hear his voice, and it's because I believed in him, I was able to hear his voice within myself. If I didn't believe in God, I could still have the same principles about doing things the right way, but that suggestion of the 30-day challenge never comes my way. I could believe in God and not do anything he's telling me to do, and as a result, that suggestion also is not getting into my ear. This is the context of understanding that your alignment with good spirituality and an alignment with God go hand in hand. And if one is missing, then you're susceptible to certain things that are unnecessary to experience. And so I tell people, if you're going to be a believer in God, you want to do the good things that he wants you to do on the earth, treating people right, whatever it says in the Bible, whatever it says in the Quran, whatever it says in your book. You want to do the things that God tells you to do. But if you happen to align with the principles of a living God, but you don't believe in God, then you can prepare for the world to disappoint you, and you can prepare for yourself not to handle it very well. You can prepare for yourself to be let down. You can prepare for the enemy to throw a lot of things that are going to make you feel like it's hopeless eventually. Or you're going to be hit with so much temptation that you're not going to know how to handle very well, till eventually you're going to be faced with that good old self-destruct. I'm on a self-destruct. This is why you see a lot of good people, unfortunately, in this life checking out of this life, or selling out in their various circumstances, or just making the wrong decision, crashing out on a bad guy, and find themselves in prison for the rest of their lives. These type of scenarios come from one half of the alignment not being in place. They have good principles, but they end up on the enemy's timing. They have good ideologies and good spiritual respect, but the enemy is more likely to be able to attack them in ways that they can't defend. And this is the context that needs to be explained to a lot of us, especially as we go forward in this world where you have so much of our technology now being pointed in the direction of trying to turn us toward what certain people want us to be, as opposed to what God wants you to be. People who are losing their stranglehold on narratives are buying up your local television, and not even local, national television, national platforms and different things, so that they can put in your head the normalization of what they want the world to be. And you're seeing that. They're spending trillions of dollars of buying up all the media so they can put in your mind what they want there, so that you will be aligned with their principles and their ideologies and their thinking. There's going to be a time where you're going to have to turn that stuff off. And it ain't going to be no one there to tell you, hey, don't listen to these people. It's just going to be your instincts. And if your instincts are not aligned with a living God, because you either don't believe in him or not doing what he says when you do believe in him, you're going to be susceptible to falling in the spaces that are easy for the world to manipulate going forward. This is very important. This is very important. It ain't enough to just believe in God. You got to follow his will. It ain't enough to just do the things he likes you to do. You got to believe in him too. And if you don't have both going together going forward, prepare to be attacked in ways that you can't defend. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't have a strong relationship with God going forward coming your way. It doesn't mean that God can't turn you and make you who he wants you to be soon. He may. But for the time being, this is going to be a lack of defense that's coming your way. You're not going to have yourself covered like he wants you to be covered. He may be willing to cover you to a degree. He may even say, you know what, I'm just going to cloak this person because I have a special plan for them. But there's still going to be things that are going to attack you that are unnecessary. He's not going to be able to whisper in your ear in the way that he wants to be able to. The way that he wants to be able to. Like, yo, look out for that. Look out for this. Look out for that. That alignment with being on his timing and being locked in with what it is he wants you to do needs to be in place in order for him to effectively move you like he wants to move you. This is very important for all believers and non-believers, because what you're going to find is, whether you're a believer or not a believer, the world going forward, as you continue to see what's revealed to you, you're going to find that it's driven off of spiritual warfare. And a lot of people who control what it is that you see are on the wrong side of this thing. That's what's being revealed to a lot of us right now. And some of the people who control the stuff that we see the most, some of the stuff that raised us, some of the things that we've loved all our lives. In this Western world, some of our favorite stuff, it was created by people who didn't side with God at all. It just is what it is. some of the stuff that's raising our kids, some of the stuff that's going to teach them going forward. Some of our favorite characters, cartoons, things like that, they're carrying forward brands that we watch as kids. Now they're giving our kids those same brands. They're using those characters in a lot of cases to bring forth whatever it is they want to bring, whatever that looks like. And so it's very important that we understand it. And the only way to fully unlearn what needs to be in order for us to protect ourselves and our families in this regard is to have that perfect alignment. Doing what God says and believing in it at the same time. Those two things have to go hand in hand. And as I said, I'm not someone who always believed this. This is not something that I've been seeing for a long time. I was always on the side of, there are people out there who don't believe in God, who do what God wants, and he loves them, and that's it. And I agree with that. I still agree with that. But now it's come to a point where it's become clear to me. It's like, yo, if you're going to do what God says, if you're going to be the type of person who by default just does the things that religious people tell you to do when it comes to treating people right and being a humanitarian and standing up for what's right, and if you're going to be that person, you need to understand that you're doing the Lord's work. He does exist. It's time you get to know him now. It's time you get to know him now. It's not a time to just, I'm a good person and I don't need anything governing my soul. I'm a good person and I just love the world and I just want to see human beings straight. That's a wonderful position, but you're going to come under attack now. You're going to be under attack in a different kind of way now. All of my good atheist friends, you're going to be coming under attack now in a different kind of way. It's essentially what I'm telling you. And I know you exist. I get chills when I say it. I know you exist. I have some friends who I know are like this. I know them. They don't believe in God at all, but they do everything God wants them to do. They don't even know it. They just good people. That's a wonderful thing. It's time for you to start realizing the principles that you engage in, the behaviors that you engage in are aligned with the one who created everything. They are aligned. You are already aligned. You are already in favor with that from which created you. It's time you start believing that there is something that powers people, if not yourself, others, to do the things that you do. And there are going to be people who manipulate religion a lot going forward. Just like they did in the past, there's going to be a lot more of that going forward. So religion is not necessarily what I'm suggesting. Because what's being proven to a lot of us who are paying attention is that religion is being manipulated as well. It's about your relationship with God and then you following what you know you should. What that feels like in your heart. Treating people right, holding yourself accountable. Those are the true norths. Holding yourself accountable. And questioning things that you feel that you know don't align with the principles in your heart. And once you start feeling like you're being tempted, saying, I can do better, I need to do better, I want to do better, I want to heal, or whatever is necessary. These are the type of things that we got to do. Hold ourselves accountable. All of this is so necessary, man, because I'm telling you, it's going to start getting foggy out here, man. It's going to be hard to tell who's who. The people who are going to be teaching us what, religion and all this type of stuff, a lot of them are being compromised by people who serve the enemy, man. It just is what it is. Your relationship has to be a direct one. You have a lot of people false testifying or whatever the word would be, bringing forth false prophecies later on. You're going to have AI telling you things are a certain way and you're going to think that it is that way and maybe act on that. Those instincts, those inner instincts are going to have to be sharper than they've ever had to be in the past. It's not going to just be okay to play both sides of the fence. It's not just going to be okay just being a good person. You got to believe in a God that makes people good to begin with. It is very, very, very important that y'all take what I'm saying extremely seriously. Because it's time now. And that's really what it comes down to. Many generations in the past believed that Jesus was coming back at their generation. Believed that the end times was in their generation. And all of that is, nobody knows. I'm not going to sit up here and say we're in the end times or nothing like that. But what I'm telling you is we're in the environment for a lot of what has been said is to come. to begin. A lot of things are now possible with technology being as they are, with people being in place as they are regionally and all over the world where they're standing. You can see where we're in an environment where revelations can now come to pass, or certain things that lead up to revelations can now come to pass. As to where our ancestors were just in theory saying that they believed that it was coming, that Jesus was coming back right now, and revelation coming right now, the jihad was coming right now, whatever it would be in your religion. Things are positioned right now for things to actually be. World banks and stuff like that, the world is positioned for that now. It's not just hearsay. You're starting to see it forming, as if it's pieces on the chessboard. So I'm saying, a lot of y'all already doing God's work anyway. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all already people God would be favor y'all over me. Some of y'all who don't believe in him, but just inherently are good people. You know compassion, you know love, you're unselfish, inherently disciplined, whatever. You're doing the Lord's work. You're doing the Lord's dance. You might as well start realizing that there is a connection out there. There's a gift. There are gifts out there for you from him because you're already doing the good work. Essentially what I'm saying. Because you're already inherently a good person. It should be much easier for him to connect with you than somebody who says they believe in him but are moving all kinds of wrong. Say they believe in him but are cowards in every way, shape, and form. And there's a lot of people like that. Who they ain't walking with God. They just want to proclaim they believe in him, as they do whatever they want. And then in the end, they just say, well, we're just going to repent and he'll forgive us anyway. That's how they move. They don't actually understand that with that forgiveness does not come an absolution from the consequences of their behavior, nor the punishment that comes with disobeying him. That's what he's proven to me. And he can forgive me. He can even let me feel like I'm being forgiven. And then the harsh consequences that hit do come. Those consequences of that punishment, that karma, it hits. And he'll sit there, he'll smile at you and say, I love you, son, as you just getting smacked around by all the karma that your actions did. He's sitting there smiling with his arms wide, but you getting beat up. I've been there. I know what that looks like. God don't have to be angry at you to bring forth swift punishment for the actions you engage. That's what I'm telling y'all. A lot of in humanity with us, if mama's angry at you and she decides she wants to discipline you, there's anger that usually comes with that swift hitting and all of these emotions that you expect. Dad hit you in the chest, he's angry at you. God, that's not how that has to go. He can sit here in peace in the most zen space and bring forth tons of wrath towards you. Hold your hand and say, you can get through this, son. You're going to do great. After we get through this, I have so many plans for you, but you getting whooped. You feeling the brunt of all the punishment. I've been there. That's why I'm telling y'all, don't let the smooth taste fool you. Your actions bring forth consequences, spiritually and worldly. If you're going to do this, then that comes. And that it hasn't come yet don't mean it ain't coming. And if for some reason you pass away before it comes, then you're going to find out in the afterlife that the harshness of your consequences are even more so. So that's what I'm here to tell y'all, man. It's real sensitive times. The enemy is proven to have a harsh stranglehold on a lot of the powers that be above us and around us. And it looks really bleak for those who don't believe in God or don't trust God. These are the times where the more awake you are, the more likely you're going to feel like you have no hope. That is why that relationship, that closeness with God is so important, because he will be able to whisper in your ear that there is hope, that he does have control over this, that things are going exactly as planned, and that you just need to stay in position or move as he tells you to move in order to be where you need to be to do what he wants you to do. Without that connection and without that alignment, that communication is not present, and it's just you and the world around you and all of the different things that come with that. You're just going to be moving around without your GPS, essentially what I'm trying to express. Bdf 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.